to the seats, and we're just getting started with a couple of announcements and thank yous. So I just wanted to welcome everyone to the Firehouse Art Center. My name is Elaine Waterman and I am the Executive Director. The Firehouse is a nonprofit art center in the heart of downtown Longmont on 4th and Kaufman, providing life-enhancing art experiences through art exhibitions, art education, and cultural events. Our Artist Talks are casual chats with artists, curators, members of the creative community, and creative entrepreneurs with a focus on how to build community within the arts. Firehouse Artist Talks give the community a chance to ask questions and get to a deeper level with the art on our walls. We are taping this talk and you can find it on our YouTube channel along with our past Artist Talks and presentations. And I just wanted to start with a couple of updates for the Firehouse Art Center. We do have a lot of things going on as we're moving into the summer months. We are continuing to have life drawing Mondays and the last Sunday of the month. Our filmmakers meetup is the first Tuesday of the month. Songwriters is third Tuesday of the month. We have a ukulele group that meets the first and third Thursdays. Writers Workshop meets the third Friday, and Poetry Night is the last Friday of the month. For our Wednesday nights, which this Creator Talk is a part of, we have our crochet group meeting on the first Wednesday. We have Creator and Artist Talks on the second Wednesday. We have a fiber arts class with Vulture Collective the third Wednesday, and then a two-dimensional art class on the fourth Wednesday. And that one this month is with Sarah Burrows-Brown, and it is a class on drawing and kind of freeing up the way that you draw. We also have our first Summer on the Streets, May 13th from 4 to 8 on 4th Avenue between Main and Kaufman. And our music for Summer on the Streets will be our Firehouse Songwriters with Helen Peterson, Tim Merkel, and Antonio Lopez as featured artists, with Dwayne Wolf and Angel Corsi also playing. We will also have performances by the Nepalese community. And our food truck will be Rising Tiger. And we will also have the mobile axe throwing truck, Axe Me Out, there on 4th Avenue as well. I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors, LDDA, Longmont Creative District, Scientific and Cultural Facilities District, the Longmont Community Foundation, the Community Foundation of Boulder, Boulder County Arts Alliance, and Colorado Creative Industries. We couldn't connect our community to creative and life-changing art experiences without your help. If you would like to donate to support our programming and exhibits, please visit our website at firehouseart.org. And lastly, in the spirit of healing, the Firehouse acknowledges and honors the Arapaho tribe, the original people of the land upon which the Firehouse sits. We also wish to acknowledge all other Indigenous tribes and nations who call Colorado home. It is because of their hardships and sacrifices that we are able to be sharing this art with you today. The Firehouse believes that we can only grow when we have a better appreciation for the history, legacy, and contributions that the tribes have made, not just to this region, but to the nation. So if there are people waiting in the front, if you wanted to come in and find a seat, are there people?
Yeah.
I think so. Come on in, guys.
Come on in, yeah.
Come on in, find a seat.
Hey. Oh, hey, Eric. Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah.
There's open seats, so totally come on in. And... So I am so excited to be here with creator and artist Tom Ludlow. He has volunteered to be here to educate us on NFTs, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain technology and AI art. Tom Ludlow co-founded 10 Studio with his wife Lindsay in 2019, and he is an art director and NFT creator with a motion, VFX, and video editing background. He has a passion for combining motion design, video, interactive technologies, visual storytelling, and audio production to create high-end results based on data-driven creative thinking. So if he's not behind the computer, you can find him with his feet in the river and a reel in his hand.
Fly
So thank you, Tom, for being with us today. And I know that you have a presentation, and I'm really just gonna let you get on with it because I am not the expert on AI's NFT or the Metaverse, and I'm gonna lean on Tom because he is.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me. Thank you for the introduction, Elaine, and thank you to the Firehouse for providing this opportunity. So my name's Tom, but you can call me Denver Donkey. That's how I'm known on the internet. And you can see my logo back there is a donkey. But for the past few years, I've been delving into artificial intelligence as well as NFTs and the Metaverse. So we'll get going here. And as I said, my name's Tom, but I do respond to donkey if you want to call me that. And I got my start at the Art Institute of Colorado doing visual effects and motion graphics. I graduated with a bachelor's in 2010, but rest in peace to Art Institute. They are no more. Zach was there with me. And at my time there, I learned how to do 2D animation, 3D animation, video editing, and I've even dabbled into some filmmaking, and since then have really gotten into VR as well. So this is kind of my vision for how tonight's going to go. I'm really just excited to talk about Web3 or NFTs with you guys. And AI is also a part of that because that's part of the tool set that I use to create my NFTs. But really we're going to hit on AI, NFTs, and then the Metaverse. And I'll do a little demo for you guys too with the AI tools. And then we'll open it up to a Q&A. So how I use AI and what I use it in my workflow for. So in general, AI is a very diverse tool set. I'm going to move around a little bit if that's all right. And, you know, we've got machine learning, language processing, computer vision, speech recognition, planning, scheduling, optimization, robotics, and what we're calling expert systems that don't really fit into a category. But I myself really specialize in these speech recognition, computer vision, and natural language processing. So those are primarily the tools that I use. And what I love about AI is that it's very inclusive. Anyone can use it, regardless of your physical abilities, your mental abilities, whatever, you can use this technology. There's a lot of different AI-powered communication tools or devices. We've all got a phone in our pocket that has Siri. She can help you do things, or Alexa can help you do things. There's a lot developing around vision impairment, which I think is really interesting. The idea of a heads-up display in your glasses that would translate a foreign language for you in real time, or even help with color impairments and things like that. Hearing impairment and speech recognition, providing captions for people in real time, could be a massive leap for technology very soon. Mobility impairment, also having people be able to use autonomous vehicles or perhaps some sort of exoskeleton to enhance their body's ability to move. And then we've got people with cognitive impairments or that need a little more visual assistant or possibly a kind of customized learning style. And I think AI is going to really help with that as well. So I just love the inclusiveness that AI has. And as an artist myself and as a content creator, I typically create my art from a text prompt. So for this image right here, I was doing some studies on minerals recently, and I was typing in all kinds of different minerals that I have in this mineral book because I'm a rock hound. That's the first thing I ever collected as a kid was rocks. So it's always been something I've been interested in, and so I just have a lot of information laying in my brain about that, and I'll just type that in, and it'll give me 4 choices to pick from. And oftentimes they're not like the greatest choices, but it's a jumping off point for my piece and for my development. I also use AI to solve motion capture data, to do particle simulations on my computer. And I'm finding that I'm just using it more and more in places where I didn't even know I could use it. So it's been really an interesting tool to get acquainted with. I also write copy with it. My wife Lindsay over here is the co-founder of our studio, and she's also our copywriter. And what it has helped me and Lindsay do is really bounce ideas back and forth and develop copy into something that's way better than what I could have done by myself or what we could have even done together, because we've got this third brain that's able to contribute to it, which is really fun. I use it to draft tweets and create promotional copy for myself, for my Denver Donkey brand. And we've even used it to generate some leads for our business, as well as for Denver Donkey, just cold emailing and coming up with this templated email that we can just blast out to people and try to generate new work. I also use it for my 3D workflow to create texture maps, to create bump or displacement or really, really fine details of wear on the edge of a metal object or something like that. And it's really streamlined my pre-production workflow on a lot of the content that I make. So this is an example where we use AI to generate this image right here. And the client for this is Connect for Health Colorado, which is the Colorado open marketplace for healthcare. And they had some very specific audience data that they said, these are the audience members that we're looking to enroll more. We want to really target these geographic areas around Colorado. And so we came up with this idea of a mother and daughter at a skate park to kind of hit on that more metropolitan vibe, city vibe. We also did a farmer and his grandson out kind of in eastern Colorado. And we also identified another gentleman that was more from Grand Junction, kind of a dirt bike, desert kind of vibe. But we started with AI, and I found this image and was just that's Marissa and Mimi. We already had named them and kind of known who we were looking for. That's when I finally brought in a 2D artist to help us design these characters and draw them all up. And this process right here, there's a lot of churn. We can waste a lot of time on a project trying to identify the character, what they look like, what they're wearing, what their silhouette is. But with this image, it just made it so much faster for us, because then I could take this to the illustrator and say, make them. So he provided us with this illustration, and then we took that to 3D, and we collaborated with a 3D modeler to then create these characters. And that artist then handed them off to me, and I rigged them up with a whole skeleton system so they can move and do things, and we can animate them like real people. And then the next layer of it was we have a motion capture suit. So you've seen those behind the scenes of a movie where they have all the ping pong balls all over them. And you can record character movements and waves and kicks and whatever you want. So I put the suit on my friend and we went to the skate park. And people were looking at us really weird. What are these guys up to? But my friend Jack was able to play Marissa the mom and Mimi the daughter in our final piece that we made for Connect for Health Colorado. But we used AI to solve that data and create that animation information that makes those characters move. I also mentioned that I use texture maps. So you could type in something really simple like dust and scratches and smudges in black and white. And it would give you some images like this. And if you look real close, you can see some of those images in here in this 3D model that I made. There we go. And so as it rotates, it catches that realistic looking light. It's got bumps and displacement and all kinds of fun stuff going on with that material. But this is another place in my workflow where AI has just taken me to the next level, where I'm like, I can make these scratches, then I can take that into another software and turn it into a bunch of procedural materials for 3D, we used to buy libraries of this kind of stuff, right? And then we would just hand them off to each other, like, hey, I bought that $500 one, I saw you have the $700 one, like, can we trade? And now we can make our own maps like that, which is it's just amazing. So a little bit about the AI tools that I personally use. I use Midjourney, is what it's called. And I'll do a demonstration for you guys here in a little while, but what Midjourney is really good at is making images. They can look very realistic, they can look very stylized. It's all about the text prompt that you give it. You will get an image in return that looks something like that. Sometimes it's really far off, but it'll return 4 images, and then you can kind of take it from there and grab your favorite little ones and kind of remix them. And so there's a lot of, like, I don't know, I grew up making like cassette tapes and mixed CDs and stuff, and so there's this like remix nature in my brain that I just love, and Midjourney is really good for that. Another place where I've been using it is in VR with Blockade Labs. They have a skybox generator. You can type in Harry Potter world of islands floating in the sky, and it will generate something that looks like that for you. And we'll get to that as well, but what's really neat about that is you can then put on your VR goggles and be right inside that piece of artwork as if you were standing in that physical spot. It's incredible. And as I mentioned, we use ChatGPT to do some copy and language type stuff. I've been running some Stable Diffusion as well as using DALL-E 2. And the reason I mentioned DALL-E 2 is because it has this really cool feature called outpainting. So let's say you've got a square image and you need to turn it into a rectangle. Well, before that would be kind of a pain in the butt and it would take several hours to do that. Now you can just add resolution to it that's a blank canvas all around it and say outpaint. And it will create a world around that original image that feels seamless, that feels truly a part of it. So things like that are just really speeding up artist workflows. It's really changing the game for how much time something might take me to accomplish. And then I'm using a tool called Topaz Labs to upscale and create higher resolution out of some of these lower resolution images that come out of Midjourney. Photoshop has content-aware fill, which is actually an AI tool, and Adobe's adding all kinds of goodies. What's up, Brian? To their offerings, including this new platform called Adobe Firefly, which is in beta right now. But what's awesome about that is it can do typography, which Midjourney and DALL-E and all these other ones, it can't do typography. Adobe's going to really have something special there because of that. And then I've been playing with Kyber a little bit for creating some motion from text or motion from image-based prompts. And I also threw Wombo Dream up here, which is an iPhone app that anybody can get on your phone. It's free. And that was kind of the gateway for me into AI. And it's not super realistic. The styles are very AI looking, but it's a fun way to kind of get started. And so after I spent some time with AI, and by time I mean I've been messing with this since December of 2020, and on a daily basis, making content for my social media. So I use the AI art as content a lot to just grab people's attention, let them know what I'm working on, maybe say something funny, maybe it snowed that morning, and we all need our puffy jackets on or, something like that. And so for me, the donkey thing came about because I've had this screen name for forever. I'm a big Broncos fan. A lot of you guys know that. And it occurred to me after like a year of using AI that subject matter is how you differentiate. That's how you become recognizable. It's kind of a hard place to stand out. because there's a lot of trends and people will kind of get on the same train and create similar images to like one up each other or like try to push it a little bit farther. And so for me, it was like, well, I'm going to use donkeys so that every time you see a donkey, you know it's me. And I just think it's funny to kind of reclaim some of people's programming, you know? So when you see a donkey in real life, you're going to think of this moment right now, you know? And I think that's really just kind of funny to be able to infiltrate people's brains like that. And my AI and VR experiences are really starting to come together with this Blockade Labs tool. So here's a couple examples. The text prompt for this was in the Colorado backcountry during the fall colors when the aspens are gold, something like that. And when you put this on in VR, it's like you're standing on a trail. And you could choose to go to the bushes, down to the lake, or up around the corner. And it's just absolutely mind-boggling to me that something like that can be created in a matter of minutes. This one was a cliff palace overlooking the ocean, something to that effect. And so stay tuned here because I'm developing a AI VR film, short film, that I hope to release later this year. And I like to make things with my daughter, so I'll draw a funny donkey and then she'll color it in, or she'll watercolor it, and then we load it into Midjourney, and this is what we got back. So we have some fun with that kind of stuff and discussing which of the 4 options is better, or what colors we like better and why. And so for me, it's become a really cool educational tool to discuss art with my children. And now they're like, hey, we should put that into Midjourney, Dad. Hey, Dad, I got an idea for Midjourney. And I just pull out my phone and we do it really quick. And that's the other part, is you can do all that from your phone, which is just incredible. So I wanted to take a moment and try to maybe make something together, or at least do a little demonstration with you guys. So this is what Midjourney looks like here. And we can type in basically anything we want down here. So the command is /imagine. Oops. There we go. Anybody have an idea? Anyone? Something wild?
Donkeys on the moon.
Donkeys on the moon. I love it. Okay. So we'll type donkeys on the moon. And what aspect ratio would you like that in, Brian?
9:16.
9:16, great. So we can add these little things to the prompt to create the aspect ratio that we want, or to create the resolution that we want. Now there are some limitations, but it's a really powerful tool in workflow to be able to just take something that popped in your head and then pop it in there. And then I also wanted to quickly demo this Blockade Labs thing. So maybe we'll do the same thing here. Donkeys on the moon. And we've got all these different art styles to pick from. Realistic, anime, sci-fi, watercolor, surreal. We're going to go surreal. And then we can hit generate. And we'll come back to these at the end of the presentation and kind of see where we ended up. And you guys can check it out, because it takes a minute to create those things. So I'm just going to keep moving here. So that was basically the brass tacks about AI and how I'm using it in my workflow. And now I want to get into what is an NFT and how are artists using these things to sell their work. So NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, are a unique digital asset that can be verified by blockchain. So you've heard of Bitcoin, you've heard of Ethereum. Those are blockchains, and that's where I buy and sell a lot of art. And it can be used for digital art, but it can also be used for things like collectibles, or maybe a unique digital asset that is a wearable. Let's say you buy some cool shirt that you can wear in the Metaverse on your character. You're more than likely going to buy that as an NFT. So the benefits of it is for me, it's really enabling me to monetize my digital creations. I'm a digital artist. I don't make physical work. I don't print things. I don't sculpt things that you can hold or look at. I make things and they're all digital. So I've got this hard drive just full of assets and things that I've created over the years that now I can monetize them. And certainly there's some controversies around NFTs and their environmental impact. And I think that that was very true in 2021 when I first got into this. But I've since discovered other chains that are way more environmentally friendly, way more low impact on the environment. And I will say that Ethereum did do an update last September that made it 99.9% more efficient. So I gotta say that the environmental impact is no more than you running your credit card to buy gas at the pump, or to buy groceries, or to do an Amazon purchase, you know? It's really not any different. So my early NFT work, as I showed you guys a little bit, I'm a motion designer. So I was like, oh, I have all these MP4s, I have all this stuff that I've made, and I'll play a few of these for you guys just so you can kind of see the movement of them. There we go, now the skull's playing. And this content just hasn't done well for me. I haven't sold a ton of it, I've sold a few pieces, and I'm grateful. This is one of the pieces that I have sold, and I've sold this one. But these other two are still available right now, and these things take a lot of time for me to make, a lot of time for me to render, and then they just sit there. But the beauty of it is they're not like, deteriorating. They're just sitting there waiting for someone to buy them. And I kind of like that about it. I don't mind that. I've been experimenting with some of these crystal caves as well. A lot of the past couple of years, I've got a cool little workflow for this, and really just like working on my lighting and materials and all of that kind of stuff. But like I said, it didn't really work so well for me. There we go. So I had to take my 3D work to the next level. And for me, that was trying to get this thing to play. No, let's go back. All right, well, whatever. I took my 3D work a different direction, and I took it into VR. And so this is an NFT, which was the first of its kind, a VR NFT. I'd never seen anyone else doing that. I'm not saying I'm the first person to do it, but I don't see many other people doing it, and I don't see anything that was minted to the blockchain before this. So I'm feeling pretty confident that this is a pretty cool piece. And I wish it would play, but you can look around this whole piece, and these bubbles float by, and they just about hit you in the head. And it's a continuous loop, so you can just kind of go in there and hang out. And what I loved about creating this was it was like very meditative for me, but it also pushed my 3D work into a new space in VR. And I think that that has really opened a lot of doors for me in my career. And then January of 2021, right? That's when the Marshall Fire was. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
It was like New Year's Day or New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And so there was this trauma in my community, and I wanted to donate some money, but we couldn't afford to donate a whole lot. And I thought, well, what if I make a collection with AI and we sell it and we give 100% of the proceeds away to the recovery fund? So that's what we did. And I sold like 75 of these or 76 of these things, and everyone knew that I was going to be donating the money. I was very transparent about it, posted it on Twitter the day that I made the donation, and I just felt really good about this, and it showed me this powerful moment of AI for a good cause, but on a quick timeline. Like, these people lost everything. We needed to help them. And I just felt really good about that and was like, wow, hold on, that's the most NFTs I've ever sold, 76 NFTs. Like, And they're all AI. So there is a market for this. And people do appreciate this art form. And I've done some collaborations. I did a collaboration with this rapper, Jay Byrne. And this was to celebrate his 1 year in the NFT space. And he wrote this whole rap and song that plays along with this. But I had the beat and the rhythm driving the illumination, driving the fireworks. And we created this really cool piece together. But the really interesting part about this was that he sold this as a multi-edition. I think we sold like 180 editions of this thing, something like that. And the revenue split was off the smart contract that he and I, both our wallets were tied to. He doesn't have to write me a check. I don't have to go looking for him 30 days later saying, hey man, where's my money? It just happens. And it's automatic. And so every time we sold one, I got paid. And so I'd wake up and be like, oh man, we sold 5 of those last night. That's awesome. That feels good. And it just really, I don't know, it opened my eyes to a lot of things that in my Web 2 business, my business that I run with my wife, we chase clients, we chase that money. We are constantly behind the ball because somebody didn't want to pay us on time. And this eliminated all of that. And I was like, that is so empowering for creators. So I kept going. And I wanted to learn more about NFTs. And I did a ton of commissioned work last year. This was for an NFT marketplace called Impossible Things. This is for another marketplace called the Origin Foundation. And they partnered with the European Football League to create these jerseys that they were selling to people, limited edition. And I just took the design and put it on a 3D jersey and made some cool content for them for a Twitch stream that they were doing. And the only reason I got that business was because I'm in NFTs. And I'm not constantly talking about it on Twitter. And these people approached me and were like, hey, we have some mutual friends. Do you want to help on this project? And I was like, absolutely. So being involved in Web3 is even helping my Web2 studio. I also have some animations in this Trip mobile app. And Trip it's actually a VR meditation platform where you can put on your goggles and go into this very meditative environment where you're very focused on your breathing, and there's particles that blow out of your mouth and then come back into your mouth. And so for me, who's like very visual person, it really helped me learn how to meditate. And all I did was one day I said, hey, I've been using this Trip product on my VR headset and I really like it. You guys should check it out. And 5 minutes later, I got a DM from their CEO and she was like, do you want to collaborate? And I was like, wow, okay. So I don't have content in their VR stuff, but they have this mobile companion app. So if you need to meditate on the go, you can look at some of my work and a whole host of other artists' work. And then we got the opportunity to do a projection show on a dome in LA for the NFT LA convention, which was a really cool opportunity as well. And because of my experience with VR and planetarium films through 10 Studio, that was a really easy project for us to take on and accomplish in what, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Yeah,
it
that was a quick one.
super fast turnaround. So after all those collaborations, it became very clear to me that if I want to be successful, I need to have a good community. And I really started building that community heavily in 2021, and I continue to do that to this day. And it's just by posting content that people know it's me, and it's funny or it's relevant. I post this with the donkey with the computer and I'm like, rate my setup, and people love it and think it's funny, but for me it's just a way to kind of always be at the top of their mind without having to spend a ton of time making this content, right? That's really what it comes down to me. It's like, time is money. And I need to be able to get these things done quick and be able to be topical. It snowed this morning and I'm cold, like everyone has those mornings and can appreciate that. But yeah, if you want to scan this and follow me, by all means, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. And then in NFTs, I saw a real movement to create these PFP collection, or like a profile picture collection, like you would post on your Facebook or your Twitter as your picture. And I wanted to do a collection of donkeys. So I did a collection of 150 donkeys. I think I generated over 3,000 and curated it down to 150 that I felt really good about. And what I loved about this project was it helped me kind of gamify my art. And as a video game person who likes playing board games too, it was fun to have that kind of layer to it. So it was a blind mint. You didn't know what you were going to get. Everyone got this box with a donkey head sticking out of it for like 2 weeks until I did a reveal party on Twitter and revealed all my friends' donkeys, and they were like, "Oh man," and showing them off, and that created enough like conversation on Twitter that people were like, "What's going on here? Like, I guess I need a donkey. So and so got donkeys," and they're inspired by things like the Denver Broncos. Or, by Ready Player One with like this kind of Game Boy and VR goggles. And this one's inspired by the Wednesday Addams show that was recently out, where her roommate's like always in pink and like super colorful. And this is Snoop Dogg. So, there's like aspects of pop culture and things that I love about the world in this collection. And I felt like it was a good way for me to generate a collection, build a collector base, but also have a collaboration with my collectors. So the third step to the donks is that you can upgrade them. And what I love about this is I take this image and then I'll put someone else's art in the background. So this is the actual collector's art in the background. And same goes for here. And then I make them move, which I hope they'll do. Yeah. So I make their like nostrils flare, and each collector also submits their own donkey bray, so their own like hee-haw sound, right? And so they're hilarious. Like this one, he recorded his 6-month-old nephew, and then he remixed all the audio on his laptop, and he sent me this thing. It was like, "Does that work?" And I'm like, "Dude, this is awesome," And so for me, it was a way to add value to the collection, to add value to my collectors and what they're already holding. But it allowed me to like engage with them on a different level than I'd seen any other artist doing, and on a level that truly like meant something to me. And I guess I should mention too, it like allowed me to explore this idea of a big collection without having like all the upfront cost, right? So having the upgrade as like part of the gamification allowed me to get it out in the world and just keep moving. And my most recent collection is crystal skulls. So for this, I generated like 2,700, I want to say, crystal skulls, and I've curated it down to 40. And so they're all hand carved from AI, which, like I love to have fun with the copy and make it feel funny. And then I run them through an upreser and make them look beautiful, maybe bring them into Photoshop and clean up some stuff that's bothering me. But for the most part, they come out pretty beautiful, and occasionally they have like 4 ears or something like that. So I call those ones good listeners. They have a trait that's like good listener. But yeah, that collection's available in minting right now. And then I wanted to also just introduce some marketplaces that I would recommend. I use NiftyKit, which is a little complicated for if you're just starting out. I can write my own contracts. It allows me to do that gamification where I can update the tokens later, change it from a image to a video. And what it also allows me to do is open up my new collection. So with like crystal skulls, I was able to open it up to donks holders only initially. So they could get in there and be the first to mint some stuff and get the first few. And then I open it up to public. But when I first got started, it was all about OpenSea and Rarible and Foundation. And Nifty Gateway and Super Rare are kind of like the holy grail. Those are invite-only platforms. I haven't been invited yet, so I'm not on them. And then if you're looking for a different tool to kind of do your own contracts, Manifold is also a great tool. So you're like, this guy talked about AI and then NFTs and donkeys a lot, and now he's going to talk about the metaverse. I don't get it. Stick with me. It's going to make sense, I promise. And artists need to care about this. We need to know about this because the metaverse is really, it's a big interconnected world. Think of it like a video game that we can all log into at any time and do whatever we want. I'm serious. You can do whatever you want in the metaverse. And nobody gets hurt. And certainly there's bad actors, but the metaverse is the next iteration of the internet. I really believe that. We're going to go from having websites to a more physical space where you can put a product on the shelf and say, come into my store. And so we're just in those early phases of it. And what's really interesting about the metaverse is it being interoperable, meaning like we can wear the same avatar in multiple instances on the internet. We can look the same. We can take things with us in our wallet or in our backpack. And then you can decorate. You know, you've got like your home space. You're going to want to put art on the walls. You're going to want to put a sculpture up. You're going to want to make it your own and customize it. So it's a virtual universe that connects digital spaces, experiences into like a 3D immersive environment. But applications for it are across the board. We've got entertainment, education, commerce, and social. And a few examples, you may not be familiar with Spatial. That is an NFT gallery environment. So it's an art gallery where you can put art up on the wall and invite people to come to a party there or an opening there. It's really, really cool. VR chat, which sounds like an AOL chat room that's not really fun, but for me, it's insane because I've got a 3D skill set and I can bring things in there. I can build things. I can create a unique experience that no one else can go and do. On Sunday nights, I've been doing a lot of VR with this group out of Denver called Shrug Life. And we like do stand-up comedy in VR and like improv. And we go to like concerts in VR. They just had a Biggie Smalls concert. And we just go to a Biggie Smalls concert and just mess with people and say funny things and like dance funny and just try to make content. And what's cool is your headset can record your view. So like you could just, and you're recording and all this, like your friends trolling somebody or saying something funny, and you've captured it all, and tomorrow we're going to put it on the internet. But certainly there are issues around privacy and security and ownership of these virtual assets. And I think we're going to regulate that. I think it's coming. It's just the Wild West right now. The concept of the metaverse, though, is ever evolving. And everybody's got kind of their own take on it right now. And it's being developed by a few large companies, but also by individuals, like I was saying. This group that I've been hanging out with in VR, we've got like a whole sound stage like you would see on Saturday Night Live with 3 stages, a couple camera positions, a big room for an audience, and it's cool. Like, we're hoping to do live streams from there and actually have people in the audience laughing in the background one of these days, you know? We're just very early to it. So recommended metaverses, VR chat, Spatial, there's a couple more, Crypto Voxels, Decentraland. Those are more so for like events. So, you know, you'd like go see a concert or a DJ or something like that. And I've been to several events like that where the DJ is just a Twitch stream coming off the internet. But huge on a Jumbotron, and we're on a beach and everyone's dressed in like funny beach clothing, and oftentimes they have a guest book, and if you sign the guest book, you get a free NFT, you get like a wearable or a hat or like a funny pair of shoes or something. And so I think that's a great start, but it feels like Nintendo 64 to me. Like we're not at PS5 yet. And then I wanted to mention On Cyber too, which is just another art gallery platform. And this is me. This is my Ready Player Me. So this was a really cool process to be able to take a selfie, and then it created the head, and then I was able to kind of customize the body how I wanted to, based on some things. But Ready Player Me is partnering with like Adidas and Coach and Gucci, and like you can get some serious clothing in here that if you hold the NFT to it, you can actually get that piece of clothing. So it's pretty interesting. But what's cool about the Ready Player Me's is that they're interoperable, like I was saying. So I could wear this in VR chat, and then I can log out of VR chat and log right into spatial, and I'm still wearing the same thing and feel like me, you know? So some other NFT artists I want you guys to follow if you're interested. My friend Creatress, she does VR sculptures. This is her work. My friend Laser Lou Dude, he takes lasers, glass, water, and mirrors and creates these absolutely mind-blowing installations and sculptures on a very small scale. And he photographs them. I've never seen any artwork like it. My friend Pong is a classic Venetian glass artist, so he does big kiln glass work, and he takes his glass sculptures and he's built this little backdrop out of 2 old TVs, and he puts AI art, and then that refracts throughout the glass and stuff, and I mean, it's pretty wild. And his wife, Quantum Spirit, this is her work here, very like rainbows, but she's calling it synthography, like synthetic photography. And she's a classically trained photographer, as well as she really likes Polaroids. So it's got kind of like this old feel to a lot of her work. My friend Jeff Jag, he's a Denver guy. He's got a new collection out. My friend Animate Dead, also a Denver guy. And then Woman NFT, she's from Grand Junction. And then these are just 2 of my best friends online, MVD and Paper Buddha. I gotta shout them out too. MVD is a light painting artist, so he does like long exposure photography and writes with like a marker, a light marker. And Paper Buddha does these really elaborate kind of psychedelic Buddha pictures. So in closing, we're almost done, and I want to open it up to a Q&A. I've got an upcoming event next week. I'm doing the Pizza DAO's Bitcoin Pizza Party in Denver. It's at the Ant Life Gallery, which is right by Coors Field. And just fun fact, the first purchase ever with Bitcoin was pizza. And it was on May 22nd in 2014 or something like that. And so every year this Pizza DAO throws a pizza party all over the world. They've got like over 1,000 locations, and it's free pizza. So come check it out. We're going to have an NFT gallery there. And then, you know, of course there's potential risks or downsides to all this tech, but overall I feel like the future's looking really bright for digital artists and traditional artists. I don't think everything's going to be digital, so don't worry. I think there's plenty of room for us all to have fun here and have a digital and physical component, like my friend Pong, the glass artist, you know? And I just don't know where this is going in the next 10 or 20 years, but I'm excited to be here. So I think that's pretty much it. I wanted to go back and check in on those demos that we did, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So here's our donkeys on the moon. I don't know, Brian. I don't see donkeys. Oh, there's one. No, that's a donkey with 2 heads. Look at that.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That's the horse's ass.
Ooh, look at that little dune buggy. See, there's like all kinds of fun stuff that comes out of these things. And then we'll go check on our mid-journey one too.
Does it tell you how long it took to run it?
I can tell you it's probably like 45 seconds.
45 seconds?
Yeah.
Less than a minute?
Yeah.
It's fast.
So then this is our mid-journey one, and we could pick from, it labels them 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I don't know, I'm feeling 2. What are you guys feeling?
4 has a real Frank Frazetta feel to it. I like that one.
Okay. We'll up-res them both.
Yeah.
So what's really cool is you just hit this, up-res it, then you wait a minute and they'll pop up. They're not super high resolution, but you could run them through an upscaler.
Does it give you floor so that you could like pick one and do a different iteration of like that specific one?
Yeah, so like, let's go back up to the fourplex here. If you hit this bottom button, which is a V, it stands for a variation. I have this remix mode, so I can like add things here. So I can say on the moon with...
Spacesuit. I'm in a spacesuit.
Okay. Donkeys in spacesuits on the moon. Oops. There we go. And you guys can watch that spin up there. But that's pretty much it for my presentation. I've been doing this for like 2 years and I'm just geeked to finally share it with some people. So thank you for being here.
So, as you were talking, I took a whole bunch of notes because
Cool.
I have questions. So as far as NFTs, when somebody purchases something from you, does that mean you don't sell it to anyone else and they own all rights to it?
You can include all that kind of information in the contract. So you can give reproduction rights, you could give full ownership rights, or you can maintain that yourself and say you just own that one piece, you can exhibit it, you can show it off, just like another piece of art from a collection. It's kind of up to the artist what you want to do there. But there are people out there making collections and selling all of the intellectual property rights to each individual token.
Mm-hmm. And then you were saying that you didn't do too well with your MP4s. Where do you have these? So like where can people see them so that they can purchase it?
Sure, that's a great question. If you go to my link tree, which, and let me get this up behind us so that everyone can see this QR code. But if you go to my link tree, I've got all my most recent work there. And they're on a variety of marketplaces, from OpenSea to Foundation and Rarible. And then I have some stuff on some other chains on some smaller marketplaces as well. And you can go to my website, and denverdonkey.art, and find some of my latest work there as well.
And then when you purchase it,
Mm-hmm.
do you do it with cryptocurrency? Like how do you purchase it and what kind of... like,
That depends
currency
on
do
the
you
platform. Yeah, it depends on the platform for which I'm doing the sale. But if you were to buy it on OpenSea, you can do it with a credit card. You can do it with crypto. You do have to have a wallet on the Ethereum blockchain
And
to
do
receive
you
it.
have any preference, like, in how they pay?
I don't. I really don't. I think I'm in this, like, right now for the experimentation part of it and the learning part of it. I'm not in this to make money. I'm just trying to, like, grow a collector base and get to know people and network. And I think that's been the real value of being in this space is the networking possibilities.
Cool. So there are lots of questions. Okay, so as far as, I know that, obviously we have a lot of artists in our Firehouse Art Center community, and they had a couple of questions as far as, I guess maybe the things that they were worried about for AI art.
Sure.
Specifically, like when you, because as an artist, like, all artists kind of borrow things and steal things. And whenever I'm doing anything, I always like having a reference. And so I can go, like, before I would just go online and search up, random things, kind of like this. And obviously, it's not as effective as this. But sometimes some of the things that come up could be influenced by current artists' artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that, that you have any kind of feelings about, or?
Well, I think if you're saying, like, I want to make Picasso, and you just keep typing in that name, like, are you making art? I don't know. Like, at that point, I think we're in a gray area there. Certainly you're making something new and creating, but there needs to be some artistic value in it or some artistic effort put into the prompt. Or maybe because you can even do an image to image kind of prompting where you feed it an image and it feeds you back 4 things that look similar. And so maybe you're photo bashing in Photoshop, and you come up with like a cool concept and composition. And, it would take 12 hours of Photoshop to paint that to all match and look good. But right now it's collagey. Let's throw it into Midjourney and see what we can do with that. To me, that's the same as going on Google and cutting out a bird and putting it in my piece, or cutting out a donkey and putting it in my piece. I think it's very similar to collage in a lot of ways. And I think that there are some bad actors out there who certainly aren't putting in the artistic effort that I would expect, and it shows. And nobody buys their work. But if you are putting in the effort, I think that right there is the artistic practice itself. It may not be sketching on a piece of paper or painting on a canvas, but it's articulating your thoughts in a way that can be visualized. And that's an art form. It's a new art form.
Yeah, definitely. When you go in and you use, what was this one that you were using? The one where you did the search?
Midjourney?
Midjourney.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do is that what you use to find the donkeys?
Yeah, I'll just type in like a donkey in a puffy coat or a donkey in the pasture on the Colorado Front Range. I type in occasionally like something for the background or to describe the environment, like cliffs in the background near the water or something like that. But I'm really trying to paint that picture with my words that then the AI can interpret it into something visual.
Have you found, because in the one that came back, we saw the donkey with 2 heads.
Yeah.
Have you found that it's getting better in what it gives you back?
So this Blockade Labs is a very new tool. This has been out maybe 2 or 3 months at this point. And so they're working on other improvements to where, let's say we did an interior space and we've got a door and a bookshelf. Well, you can remix it and it'll still be a door and a bookshelf, but in a different style and in different environments, but things stay in the same place. So they're developing tools to help you better chase that thing that you liked and continue down that path. But they haven't really improved things like 2-headed donkeys yet, right? I don't think that there's a big enough data set for them yet either, with all the VR film content, that they've really put together something cohesive. But I will say that Midjourney, which is this one that runs over here, this gets more and more realistic with every single update. And they just released 5.1, and it's the most hyper-real version of it yet. So they have worked out hands with 5 fingers. They can do that now almost every time. Occasionally you get 7 or 8 fingers, and that's kind of weird, but that's what Photoshop is for.
Well, hands are hard for everyone, I feel like. So where do they get the data set? Where do they pull the data set from?
That's a great question. Some of them are very open about that, some of them are not, and that's a bad actor. So Midjourney has been very open about where their data set came from. They've scraped it off of public domain websites and trained it that way. So everything they're using is public domain, at least as far as they've disclosed, and then the public has fed it all kinds of stuff, off the internet or out of their camera roll. My friends have started these new things called blend threads on Twitter, because there's a new feature called Blend, where you can take two photos and blend them together. And so, we made a pizza one recently for the pizza party that's coming up. And I was making pizza donkeys the other day, and they're horrendous, and no one would ever buy it, but it's funny, and it creates a funny conversation on Twitter, and people laugh about it. So I think there's a place for it in content like that. I would never try to sell a piece like that, but being able to blend two things is really an interesting thing, but it kind of opened the floodgates, I think, on what the model then was training on, or able to train on, when the public can feed it things.
So when you created your avatar and you have the whole outfit, were those NFTs that you bought to dress in a certain way, or?
No, those are just inspired by pop culture mainly, or things in my life that I appreciate.
So no Gucci,
No, I like a good puffy coat and a hoodie, like a soft coat. But I like sports and movies. A lot of them are inspired by animated films, or Pixar. I would say big eyes, like a Pixar character or something like that. But never was specific about the movie, just more like the art style that I was going for.
Very cool. Well, I think that I've kind of covered some questions, but I might come back and ask you a couple more. But I wanted to open it up for...
Sure. Citro.
Would you say, if I wanted to get into concept art, AI stuff, would you say Midjourney is the best one that you've used for concept art? And if I wanted to do that tonight, how would I go about doing that?
I would say Midjourney is probably a good place to get started. They have a free account. I think you get 15 or 20 credit hours, which you'll burn through in about a half hour probably, knowing you. I was about 15 or 20 minutes and there's the paywall. But
how much does it cost after that?
You can get it annually or monthly, and they have a couple different tiers. I think it's 25, 50, and then the big accounts for 150 person studio.
Oh.
So that's we'll have a phone call with you and discuss your monthly rate.
Right.
Yeah. And how you would go about setting it up is you need Discord, which is a chat software.
Yeah.
Let me close out of this real quick. Just like Slack or any of those, Telegram. And once you have it hooked up in Discord, then you can go into their channel. Let's see if I can get to it. Yeah. And Midjourney has so many channels over here on the left side. It's kind of insane. And if you go in here, it's like drinking from a fire hose. You'll put in your prompt and it's gone. It just goes through up in the feed so far.
Okay.
And it's a little hard to feel like you enjoy it. So I have taken the direct message route with the bot. So in this chat, it's just me and the bot having a conversation, making pizza donkeys.
Oh, sweet.
And this one's amazing.
That's a goat.
It is kind of goaty. But what I liked about it was the DM message was less fire hose vibes.
Yeah, that's what I would want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And for that, I think you have to have the $50 a month account.
Oh,
to be
right.
able to
That's
DM
what
the bot.
you have a subscription to? Or
Yeah, we have the annual one through the studio. Because we use it on storyboards, I use it on logo concepts.
Do you have to get invited or anything? Or can I just go to midjourney.com
No,
or whatever?
You can just go there and create an
Go get my
account.
money, no problem.
Yep. And OpenAI is another really good one. ChatGPT is a part of OpenAI. DALL-E is a part of OpenAI. So if you went that route, you've got a couple more tools like the text tools.
Is OpenAI a company that owns all those?
Yeah.
Essentially? And is Midjourney its own separate thing?
Yeah, Midjourney is its own standalone company.
And then for the Metaverse slide you showed all the different like platforms, but is that all owned by Facebook, Meta? Or
No.
those are all
Actually, none of those platforms were owned by Meta at all.
Okay.
And I just read today that Meta is not going to do their Metaverse.
They're not?
Yeah.
Really?
Pull the plug, yeah.
Yeah, they pulled the plug on it like in the past 24 hours.
Oh wow.
Uh-huh. So,
Interesting.
well, but people like Spatial or VR Chat, they're beating them out.
So if you have your character and you could go to all the other platforms with the same character, how does, I guess they all have some kind of community-based thing there, or like shared account thing there? It's
Well,
not like you need an account for each one.
so I set up that avatar with Ready Player Me, which is its own company.
Uh-huh.
And then their API interfaces with all kinds of other stuff. So as long as their pipe is plugged into the platform where you want to go, you can wear your avatar there.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
then
so
Ready,
they've, sorry, go ahead.
so Ready Player Me, you can get you can buy stuff for your avatar, and no matter where you are still wearing what you've purchased.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a great way to summarize it. And you can make one change to your outfit and it happens everywhere else. So the next time you log in on one platform, you've got your yellow jacket on now instead of your black leather jacket. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still. It looks like I understand.
It's really interesting if you've ever played a video game like Fortnite.
I have, yes.
Where
That,
you've
but
got all
yeah.
these different costumes and dances and wraps for your weapon, but you can't take them anywhere. You don't own that. You paid $50 for it, but you don't own it. You can't take it anywhere. You can only wear it in their game. And so to me, it's like, what's the point then? Why would I buy that? You know? I would rather buy things that I can actually wear and use how I want it.
Will it ever get to the point where you can do that? Where like all of these things will talk to each other?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're headed there.
They're developing the software now so they all can operate together. There's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. And we have to agree on some like key terms and standards and things like that to make that a smooth process. But we're very early in this. Like this is like dial-up internet days right now.
So going back to the Fortnite, because I understand that.
Yeah.
So like when Fortnite would partner with different companies, they would form a relationship and they would have to pay those companies. So like if you finally were in an environment where you could wear your, I don't know, whatever, like I can't even-
Adidas tracksuit.
Yes.
Sure.
Would that mean that whenever you wear, I don't remember, so like the company Adidas would end up getting your money even though you did it through, like,
Yeah.
how do people, like, how is that going to be tracked? That sounds like a
NFT.
lot.
Yeah.
Smart contracts.
Yeah.
It'll be
Oh my
written
gosh.
in. They're working on metadata. They'll track everything, everywhere, every day, and everybody will get their splits like he was talking about. Like when he did his artist, he got paid, artist got paid. It just went its way automatically.
It just happens, you know?
But if you buy a bunch of really high-end artwork, you could host it in your own art gallery and charge admission in the metaverse, and that object that you bought just is in there.
Yeah.
So
So as far as kind of like how much you charge for your artwork, like what is that range? Just to give me an idea of like, because I've
So-
seen like lots of money like going through. It's like
Yeah, and like that's the stuff that makes the headlines. I'm not selling like that. The donks were like $25 initially for the pre-sale for anyone who's signed up on my pre-sale list. And then when I opened it to the public, I think they were about $50. And then the upgrade, if you want to add motion, is about $75, give or take. I mean, it depends on what the market's doing at that moment, right? What crypto's worth. But it's about $60 to $70 to do an upgrade. And then on my VR work, that one I'm charging an Ethereum for, which is currently like $1,800. But that thing took 6 weeks to render on a computer, and it took me probably 3 or 4 weeks to develop it. So I've got some serious time invested in it, and I think the discussion of how do you price your artwork is always very interesting between artists. And all I can say is price it for what you want to see it go for. Because if you don't want to part with it for less than that, don't. You know? Set your price and be okay with it.
How does that, because you were saying it depends on what crypto is worth, like how does that affect your pricing your work when all of the currencies are just so, they fluctuate?
It makes it hard. Yeah, it's tough. I would say Ethereum is a little bit more stable-ish than a lot of them out there. Tezos being the one the blockchain that's more environmentally friendly. I've seen it worth $8 at one point when I was selling work on there, but currently it's worth 98 cents a coin. So it's lost a lot of value. And, you know, you got to kind of follow those trends, unfortunately, to see sales. If you don't care about sales, then price it for what you want it to go for. And stick to your guns. Because otherwise you'll never get that kind of money for your artwork unless, you know, you were to sell it a different way, I guess. But
You can change the price.
yeah, you can change the price. You could run a promotional thing. I go to a lot of NFT events. So Ethereum Denver happens every February, and during Ethereum Denver, I discount that VR piece. And I take it down to half of an Ethereum. So it's half price. It's 50% off. And I haven't seen it sell, but I don't really care. You know, I'm just out here having fun, experimenting, and trying to be a part of this new future that I think I see coming together. And what's really interesting to me is like I kind of got into NFTs, and then AI came in out of left field, and I was already kind of doing some VR stuff, and now all of a sudden it's like turned into one like congealed thing that's kind of coming into focus for me a little bit.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of monopolized that, so any more questions?
I was about to ask you if you want to title it. I'm Sadie Diva, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I saw you and I was like, oh, I know it.
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask if you were on Tezos or not, because I'm mostly Tezos.
I am on Tezos. I haven't done a drop over there in a while, though, so.
I'll be waiting for you
All right. It's lovely to meet you.
then. Yeah.
We've met on Twitter before. Yeah.
Follow the donkeys. I haven't bought one yet, because I don't have Ethereum, so I haven't played with Ethereum much. So.
That's cool. Well, thank you for your support, though. Thanks for coming out to this. It's really cool.
I have something to add about to elaborate on the artist's work and stuff. I just read an article, I think it was last week, about how a photographer found some of his elements in AI art and tried to get it taken down. And what their argument is they don't have a record, they don't have a database so you can't claim copyright because they don't keep a record of it. But I did learn through that they have this thing you can sign up for. It's called like donotscrape.com or something. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Elaborate more on that, but I guess it's this database you can sign up for to say like, hey, I'm a photographer, my stuff's online, and you're not allowed to scrape it. So there are taking steps to like protect people that want to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
But that's as far as I know. I don't know if you want to elaborate.
But they're all opt-in
Okay.
steps
Yeah.
so far.
So they work.
And I don't know that
Yeah.
they work. But you have to opt in and go through the process of doing it all and placing code on your website
Oh, really?
and some things like that, yeah. But it's a good step to protect your work if you're really concerned about that. But I mean, the moment you post it on any social media, it's not yours anymore anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah, that's what I mean. We've talked a little bit about this before. Like, I'm a portrait artist, and sometimes I run across artists where I'm like, I send it to Tom. I'm like, is this AI?
yeah.
Because the people's look strange, you know? And like, yeah, we've chatted about it. I'm like, well, yeah, but if it's pulling artists' work and then they're maybe not upfront about the fact that they've used AI, and then they're selling it off again as a portrait, then that seems like a really rough area. But as long as it's something where it's like, this was developed with AI, then I have absolutely no problem with it, you know?
Yeah, and like there was big controversy over the Colorado State Fair. The artist who won the competition submitted an AI piece.
Okay.
Well, my first question was, did they ask what medium any of the artwork was created in?
Right. It's a lack of knowledge about
Who was on the judges?
Yeah.
Like, did they know what they were looking at?
Right.
Like, well, if you don't ask, then people aren't going to tell. And I don't agree with that personally. I try to say made with Midjourney, Photoshop, Topaz, Cinema 4D. But when I'm just posting it on social media, at this point, like, everybody knows I'm making Midjourney donkeys. You know, and then you go to my profile and I say I'm a Midjourney muse. Because that's how I feel about it. Like, it's kind of an artist, and I'm just like giving it little ideas.
Totally. I was using it for a little while, and it was giving me like concepts that I would never have come close to thinking of.
Right.
And then I found I was just spending so much time doing that. I was like, I need to put it down, but I need to draw more.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I can see that too. It's like an art slot machine. That's how I've been describing it to people. And you just sit there with your free drink, and you pull the lever, and then you're like, I won.
and it's 4 a.m.
I have to be at work today. Yeah, but it is that like kind of feeling of gambling or like some sort of endorphin rush, and lots of late nights for sure. But that's also in NFTs, lots of late nights there too. Hanging out on Twitter, talking to people about stuff they're developing or working on. And that's something that I didn't say, but I should say, that Twitter has become a social audio platform. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but they have Twitter Spaces, and it's an audio platform where you can hear people. There's speakers on stage. You can get called onto stage to ask questions or just chill in the audience and listen to what is basically a live podcast. And it's relevant. It's topical of today's news or today's whatever trends that are going on. And for me, it became a place where I was like a little scared to talk about my work initially. And the more I hung out there, the more I realized like this is like a safe place to talk about my work, to fumble through my explanation, to get long-winded, and then realize, okay, the best thing I said in that 5 minutes was like this little piece of it. So say that more often when I'm talking about my work. And it's become a really good sounding board for, did I describe that well? Did you understand what I was saying? Do you understand my concept? That sort of thing. So, and then people will give you ideas right there too. And you're like, oh my God, I would have never thought of that. Thank you. So
Twitter is the new artist space.
yeah, I'm not going to say that. It was for a couple of years. I feel like they're kind of ruining it right now since Elon took over. It's gone really downhill. But there's an emerging platform called Blue Sky that's like a Twitter ripoff, pretty much. And I think Blue Sky's kind of cool. I'm on there. Yeah.
A lot of AI artists will put AI, so AI infused art with a hashtag, so you can
Okay. Every time I would post anything, I would just make sure I had an I after the A in every word I was spelling.
AI infused art.
That was my thing.
Well, I go to this great Twitter space on Friday mornings at 10 a.m. our time called Friday with AI at the end. And it's really cool because it's all these AI artists sharing like, hey, here's this new thing like Blockade Labs that I found. And I bring that and people are like, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing this, you know. And then someone will say, oh, did you try the new tiling, feature, which is great for us 3D guys who need a texture that tiles and repeats seamlessly. So when things like that come out, then we spend that whole Twitter space like just working on tiling or just working on a theme for the day. And so sometimes it's like ghosts or childhood memories, and then people come up and they talk about their memory and they show their piece, and it's really cool. It's interesting. And it usually lasts like an hour, maybe two, and I'll just listen to it and be working, and then I'll post a piece, and they're like, "Oh, let's talk about the donkey piece," and I'm like, "Oh gosh, I've got to come off mute real quick and talk about this." But it's been cool. It's a cool environment, and NFTs has been very supportive for me, I would say, as an artist. I get a lot of support from friends and people who I've never even met in person, you know, or maybe they show up tonight in person and we meet for the first time. It's been a lot of that in my life the past couple of years, and I think that's really, really cool. I've never had internet friends before, you know, like some of my buddies are like, "Oh yeah, I play Call of Duty with this guy, but I've never met him." I don't want to meet him. I'm like, "What do you mean you don't want to meet him? You spend hours with this person." So the meetups have been cool too, to actually put a face to the name, and then I almost respect their art even more at that point. You know, now that I know them and can identify them a little bit more.
Any other questions?
You
I
get
did
an
want
NFT?
to give you. Wait, wait.
Show that.
I wanted to give you a chance to talk about 10 Studio and what you do there.
Well, my wife Lindsay over here and I run 10 Studio, which is a motion design and visual effects and video post-production shop. We make everything from little like 15-second YouTube or Instagram advertisements to full-blown 28-minute planetarium films with my buddy Brian Bishop in the back there. Brian and I worked on a planetarium film for CU Boulder a couple years ago, and it was about the next like 30 years of NASA missions to the moon that is going to build the foundation to get us to Mars. So we work on a little bit of everything, from social media advertising campaigns to small businesses. We do recap videos for events and all kinds of stuff. We're hustlers, like whatever we can do to bring in some revenue, we're down to do it as long as it's a creative output. Yeah, anything you want to add to that?
No. Projection mapping.
Oh yeah, we do some projection mapping too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Yeah? Nice.
What has kept you off the money side of things?
Off the money side?
Yeah, like crypto. You're getting paid in crypto. Why aren't you like in the market for crypto?
Oh,
You haven't thought of that route yet?
I'm just not sure about it yet. Like, I think the technology is there, and I like blockchain technology, but I don't know that we've got a clear winner in like a currency.
Okay. What you're saying about that, everyone's saying about AI.
Okay.
So you should go and get into crypto right now because it's very, very early.
Yeah.
And this is what I tell people about crypto. If you're not aware of this, it's the new stock market.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's the beginning of it. And you can get in right now and get many cryptos for under a penny, and you just, if you don't need the money, toss $20, $30 in them and just let them sit for about a year or two, and it's going to go up incrementally. Just for you to get on that side of things.
Well, I mean, I'm invested in Ethereum at this point. I've got a wallet and several wallets, and what I've done with the funds that I've made is reinvest into the community and invest into artists that I believe in what they're up to, and add them to my collection. So I've got over 300 NFTs, and
They're backed by crypto.
they're all backed by crypto.
You're in.
Oh, I'm in. Yeah. But I'm not like putting my life savings on the table yet. You know what I mean?
I put life savings. You got like $10, okay, I'm going to throw it here and buy
Yeah.
100 of these.
Yep.
Because you can do it through your phone now. You can get an app. You can get
Oh, yeah.
Coinbase or crypto.com. You can go into it that way.
Yeah. And that's how I tried to get into it, but my bank wouldn't let me in.
They tried to do that to me, but
Yeah.
eventually they had to get on board because it's kind of like Uber and taxis.
Yep.
Uber came and was like, hey, we're trying to help you with taxis. Like, no, they tried to hold them out, but then Uber eventually took over. That's what's going on with crypto and the banks. Banks are trying to hold them out, but crypto's eventually going to take it over.
Well, and I think the last stronghold is probably Apple. They're refusing to approve a lot of apps that exchange crypto. So we'll see where they move next. They're pretty focused on the Metaverse right now, though.
Yeah.
So they'll roll over eventually.
Everybody which will, they'll be
Yeah.
kicked out.
Once they
Mhm.
have what they want you to buy with crypto, they'll go over it.
Exactly. And that comes out in like June. So
Okay.
their VR headset's going to be pretty cool, I think.
I don't have much in there yet, but it's definitely on the list.
Yeah.
I just keep seeing people walking into their TVs and they're like, I want to break my house.
I walked into a wall the other day, I'm not going to lie. Just flat face right into a wall and was like, okay, time to take it
I
off.
broke it already once, I can't broke it again.
I have a question for you. Actually, is this your gallery?
I'm the executive director here, so it's a nonprofit art center.
Okay, what made you be interested in him coming here? Because I met with like the Museum of Art Fort Collins, and I did a whole presentation with them, telling them they're exactly like where they should be in this, and like I don't know back to them because they're afraid of it. So like, what made you like not afraid of this and like willing to
Oh,
hear him out?
well, he's on the board of directors, but I don't think I
Come in
would
the
be
back.
like
Yeah.
afraid to discuss it. I know that there have been, as far as like the fine arts community in confronting new tools, whether it's, from the beginning of time when people were using charcoal from the fire, and then suddenly now charcoal's put in wood, and now it's a pencil. And like, as these new tools, and it's digital art, digital painting,
Photography.
digital photography, like there's just so many new tools that come about with technology. And as far as AI art, I definitely see, as a fine artist myself, like the benefits of just kind of bouncing things off. Like I want to do, an animal series where they're all dressed up as Renaissance, women or something like that. And yeah, which I'm sure if we plugged it in would come up with thousands of results.
I follow an artist that does Renaissance style athleisure wear for Nike. And it's all like sweats and like these big cuffs and shoulders and stuff. And then they're wearing like Jordans.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, but it's kind of beautiful. You haven't seen anything like that before. So
Yeah.
caught my eye.
And when I started doing digital art, it was a weird feeling because, knowing that if you made a mistake, you could just, press the back button 5 times and then you're back to, it was like, my first thought was like, it's so much like cheating. You're just cheating. Like, you don't have to erase all that. And it really is like the time-saving tool that you talk about. But I know that there are a lot of artists that are very resistant to it just because they think, like the Colorado State Fair, all of these opportunities that are possibly being taken away from fine artists. But, it's a tool, and if you kind of see it in that way, and I feel like we're moving towards more protection for ownership of assets.
That's what Web3 is.
Yeah.
That's what NFTs are.
Yeah, and I feel like, as technology goes along, when it's new, you said it's like the Wild West. When it starts to get more regulated, we just have to make sure that that's what we asked for.
Yeah, we're in control of this for sure. And humans built it. We can decide what we do with it and how we do with it. So I think it's important that we keep that mindset, though, going forward, that this needs to be a tool for the greater good and not just a means to an end.
So, yeah, they just gotta get on board because I did the whole like, this is how you use it, this is how you deal with like the fluctuations in the market and how like what's still similar, and like a lot of it's jargon that makes things different, but like they were just highly resistant, even as like artists themselves. And I'm like, just getting them to be like, this is for you, and like shaking them and like, so I was just curious if there was any like, other than being in the back door, which is kind of my goal, is work with But
Volunteer then, and
no, don't
say I'll be on your
Yeah.
I'll be on your board of directors. I'll help out. I'll volunteer at summer
Yeah.
art walk, and help you guys move this into that digital direction
Yeah,
and be that voice.
Yeah.
And I feel like, we're a contemporary art center and we're not a collecting organization. So we really want to be showing work that does push that envelope. And the reason that, I was totally fine, we want to be a space where there are difficult discussions, whether it's like, I feel uncomfortable about AI art. And then just kind of like talking through it in a way that is educational. And I think that was probably the primary reason. So, I mean, I'm still, as I was saying, I'm still trying to wrap my head around NFTs and AI art and cryptocurrency. When something is, you say this is what it's worth because that's what I say it's worth, I still have no idea.
That gets into the discussion of what creates value. What is value?
Yeah.
Value is whatever we determine it is. You're going to pay whatever you want, whatever you want. That's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
That's like you said, whatever you feel like your piece is worth, price it there. Put it out there. If somebody feels like it's worth it, they're going to pay it.
And then somebody else can buy it too, and they can make it even higher than that, and you're still in the world to that. There's so many
Components,
things.
yeah.
And they just finished their mask fundraiser exhibition or whatever, and I walked in there the first time. I'm like, these are all NFTs. You already have them digitally. That's what's in the magazine for them. I'm like, you can pick whatever, and they just couldn't. You've already done all the legwork, so yeah, just what encourages people to be no, this is the next step in what you guys are doing, because they started their MOA for all, and so they're trying to make art more accessible and this, that, and the other, and I'm like, you mean exactly what Therese doing with art. So it's just trying to get them to just jump off the bridge essentially. So
Yeah, they got to dip their toe.
they do
At least a little,
yeah.
right? And I think the other thing, and you just sparked this, but AI has kind of democratized digital art tools. So if you've got a phone and an internet connection, you can make art.
Right.
You don't need an Adobe subscription for $100 a month. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on some other software to get started. You can get started and then invest in yourself with your sales, right? And build your tool set from there. But it's really democratized accessibility.
Collaboration for the future. You're able to collaborate with AI, you're able to collaborate with other artists, you're able, all around the world. I was put on DropSpot, which is an Australian, Cardano Australian platform and stuff like that. I've never been to Australia, but my work's over there, and it just opens it up so big and so much, and so I'm always trying to share with people, but I think I maybe get too excited and scared away, but I don't know. But it's just,
I think it's
so much
new
more.
and people are just
Yeah.
risk adverse to new things.
I mean, I will say so. I've tried to mint my artwork a few times, and I get literally to the button where I'm like, okay, mint it, and I see gas prices, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I stop.
Yes.
Gas prices are brutal.
So that's I'm interested in learning this.
And gas prices, for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, that's the cost of doing a transaction on the blockchain. So just like you might pay a 3% credit card fee, you gotta pay to put it there and get it on the blockchain in the storefront before you can sell it.
And that fluctuates too.
And that fluctuates on network traffic.
Every second.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I have it bookmarked.
It's always high.
Like, can we do it now? No.
Definitely.
And then at 3 in the morning.
Tezos has much lower,
Oh
I
yeah.
got into Tezos in August. I'm fairly new to the place. I didn't even hop into NFTs until December 2021. But I went to the piece, I don't know, last week or something. It was 7 cents for the storage, and
Last
So
time
also
it was
it's
like,
like-
it cost like $80 or something. Like, what am I
That's
doing
probably
wrong?
Ethereum.
Yeah. Was that on
probably-
I
OpenSea?
think it was on OpenSea.
That's
Yeah.
probably it. But even Polygon is like, they don't do it like the artists is what they
Well, and there's lots of new tools now where like you could make that a cost of buying the piece. So you could put that on the collector to pay that gas fee. It's called lazy minting. And then you don't have to pay the gas fee, but it comes out of the transaction. So you make a little less than what you listed it for.
So we want to learn more about this. Where do you recommend this looking?
I mean, I recommend you getting on Twitter and getting in Twitter Spaces or even Clubhouse, which is another social audio platform. There's a lot of NFT 101 type things on there where you could hop on stage and ask some questions and feel a little more confident in clicking the mint button.
Okay.
You could also set gas to like your paint threshold, and then when gas gets that low, it'll just put it in the next block to get minted.
Okay, cool.
So that's another way around it. But that's a little more technical than like a beginner would maybe
Right. Okay.
get to.
And I'm going to ask you about these little things because I'm going to put them at the end of the YouTube talk, just like where to get more information.
Sure. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, we are a little past our time, and I wanted to make sure everyone got home and ate and did whatever. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming to the Firehouse Art Center, and thank you to Tom for volunteering your time to teach us about all of this new and crazy stuff. So
Happy to do it. Thanks for the opportunity.
yeah, and if we get more questions or anything like that, I will definitely send them your way.
Yeah. And anybody in here, email me anytime. Donks@denverdonkey.art. That's me.
Okay. Well, cool. Thank you.
All right.